The game against the Pistons, that was a big game. And of course, the Knicks did not show up. And I'm going to be honest with you, just going to be transparent. It's becoming very concerning for me. The Knicks they just can't compete with Detroit. Detroit, it just looks like a much better team. Number one, they're faster. That's number one, hands down. Their defense is better. Granted, their roster is younger, but Cade Cunningham is the head of the snake, just like Jalen Brunson is for the Knicks. But the Knicks just can't compete with Detroit right now. They just can't beat them. So now you're going to tell me that the regular season is not going to matter at all when the postseason comes? Sure, you can say that. But at the same time, the Pistons are going to be the ones that are getting home court advantage, unlike last season, where the Knicks got the home court advantage. This year, Detroit is the number one team in the East. They have over 40 wins, and they don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the FTB podcast. I am your host, Kristen Gulick. We'll be discussing the week that was. The Mets and Yankees began their spring training games last week, while the NFL stays quiet, waiting for free agency to start next month. Regarding the Knicks, they're good, but not great. And I'll explain to you why. But can they ever overcome this one opponent in the playoffs? I'll be discussing that perturbing topic in a bit. But first, do me a favor, take a seat, let's talk. All right, let's adjust this a bit. So, as you could tell, it is just me today. There is no Dom. Unfortunately, we got a bit of a blizzard, snowstorm, blizzard, whatever you want to call it. And we got a hefty amount of snow. The further you go out on Long Island in New York, the worse it gets. We did get a ton of snow here in Queens, Rockaway Park for Dom, Bayside for me. Got a ton of snow. And so we are very much somewhat snowed in. I mean, I still went outside yesterday and Sunday, but they did give out a blizzard warning, and they didn't want anybody out before 12 p.m. yesterday. So Dom is in Turks. He is stuck in Turks and Caicos. He don't know when he's coming home, and he did not bring his mic. He didn't bring his laptop because we didn't know really that a storm was coming. It was on and off the whole entire week last week. And he figured, I'll get home Monday night, Tuesday morning, and I'll just rush, set up, and I'll be good to go for the pod. And unfortunately, he's still there. Of course, he's not really complaining. It's Turks and Caicos. Why would he? Beautiful island. Our friend Kenan also lives there. I'm sure he'll hang out with him a little more the longer he stays there. But Dom is not here, and he will not be here for today's episode. So it's just going to be me. No visual effects today. I am going to keep it normal with my chair background and everything else that we have here. I can maybe adjust this a bit and to show you a hat or whatever we have. I'll push this back. But going back to what the episode used to be, and again, just going to be me for today's episode. We're going to try to keep this fairly shorter since there's not really much going on with football. Baseball is just a few games of spring training. Yankees have played 4. Mets have only played 3. Mets play today, and it will be televised on SNY at 1 o'clock today against the Astros. We'll get into baseball down the road. The order today is the NBA, the MLB, and of course the NFL is last, since there's absolutely nothing going on aside from mock drafts from analysts like Mel Kiper, who didn't really do a great job of it last week. As people saw the reel that I posted and the short on YouTube and the reel on Instagram. But other analysts, NFL analysts, are coming out with mock drafts for the Jets and the Giants. So really going to try to keep this episode shorter than usual. My weekend was straightforward, not really much going on. Working a little bit, spent some time with family, And that was really it. Again, a lot of snow outside, fairly cold. It's going to get warmer later this week, which is great. Hopefully that'll melt a lot of the snow away. Had to tend to my car yesterday, so that was fun. But other than all that, not really much else going on. And again, Dom is not here. He won't be here for this episode. He is stuck in Turks. Poor kid. Stuck in a paradise island. Very tough. It's all right. He'll figure it out. Anyway, so that's everything discussed there. We're going to start with the NBA. So I said it last week. I'll say it again. The game against the Pistons, that was a big game. And of course, the Knicks did not show up. And I'm going to be honest with you, just going to be transparent. It's becoming very concerning for me. This is a team that the Knicks need to beat. And I don't care if it's the first game out of the All-Star break, but I don't care that OG was a bit rusty because they sat him for 3-4 games. Then they gave him the All-Star break to rest up his injured toe. I just saw Jack Hughes get hit in the teeth in the Olympic final game against Canada, and he kept playing. So I don't really care about your toe. I think it's, baby shit that you didn't play because you have a toe injury. While Jack Hughes is missing a couple of teeth, and he scored the game-winning goal for USA against Canada. So shout out to the USA Olympic team for bringing home gold. That was a fantastic game on Sunday morning, 8 a.m. time. So very early start. I know I'm digressing a bit from the segment here, but had to give a shout out there. But anyway, Knicks lose to the Pistons 126-111. OG Anunoby's first game back, 3 of 13 from the court, 1 of 8 from 3. He looked rusty as hell, missing a few games, then using the All-Star break to heal up his injured toe. Jalen Brunson played well. He had 33 points, shot 12 of 20 from the court, 3 of 7 from 3, but he had 6 turnovers and 4 personal fouls. So with that, he finished with a -9 on the court. Mikal Bridges, I've said it multiple times, and this is why I said to Dom, I'm not going to analyze him until after New Year's Eve, or I guess from New Year's Day on. Need more from Mikal Bridges. Need more from your pal. 8 points, 4 of 9 shooting, 0 of 3 from 3, a -6 on the court. And Cat had 21 points, only took 14 shots, 7 of 14 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, had 11 rebounds. He actually broke even on the court. He was a 0, not a plus, not a minus. 14 shots is just not enough. He only played 31 minutes. That's another problem. But again, as I've said ad nauseum, sir, buddy, pal, you're making close to $60 million this season. You need to just simply do more. Now I'm going to talk about the next 2 games after here, where he did show it and he bounced back a bit. But once again, this is the team the Knicks have to try to beat. This is now last year's, I guess, Boston Celtics. 2 years ago, Boston Celtics. The Pistons are the best team in the East right now. Cade Cunningham looks ridiculous. 6'8", just carving up defenses left and right. But as I said last week, this was the big game that the Knicks really needed to show, hey, we could play with Detroit too, and we could also win the East when the playoffs roll around. From the game that I saw last Thursday, that's not really the case. The Pistons look like they're going to be a problem in the playoffs. Now, again, I understand a lot of people say that the regular season is not the postseason, but this is all I'm seeing though, right? The eye test is what you can watch and what you see right now. And what I see right now is the Knicks they just can't compete with Detroit. Detroit, it just looks like a much better team. Number one, they're faster. That's number one, hands down. They're just simply faster. Their defense is better. Granted, their roster is younger, but Cade Cunningham is the head of the snake, just like Jalen Brunson is for the Knicks. But the Knicks just can't compete with Detroit right now. It's as simple as that. They just can't beat them. So now you're going to tell me that the regular season is not going to matter at all when the postseason comes? Sure, you can say that. But the thing is that the later we get into the season and the closer we get to the playoffs, the more you have wear and tear on your body. Now, could that be, I guess, more to the Knicks' benefit than the Pistons? Sure. But at the same time, the Pistons are going to be the ones that are getting home court advantage, unlike last season, where the Knicks got the home court advantage. Now, of course, if the season ended right now, the Knicks and the Pistons wouldn't play each other maybe until the second or third round. It wouldn't be the first round like it was last year. But even as I said, before the playoffs started last season, the Detroit Pistons are no joke. It's not going to be an easy round. And it wasn't. It only went to 6 games, but I thought the Pistons were going to push it to 7 for the first 3 quarters of the game. The Detroit Pistons look like a faster, quicker team in that Game 6 playoff game last season. But this year, I mean, Detroit is the number 1 team in the East. They have over 40 wins, and they don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. So this was a big game for the Knicks to really show that they could be a serious threat, not just to the Detroit Pistons, but their Eastern Conference period. I haven't looked at the standings in the last couple of days. If I look at them now, I believe the Knicks are still third in the East. Yes, they're third, a game behind the Boston Celtics. Celtics are 37 and 19, and the Knicks are 37 and 21. And don't forget, Jason Tatum's coming back for the Boston Celtics. So the Knicks have to just simply keep on winning. And I'll get to tonight's game in a bit, but tonight they play the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are only 1 game behind the Knicks. So if the Knicks lose tonight, the Knicks and the Cavs are now tied for 3rd place in the East. Got to win this game tonight. This is another big game. But I said this a few weeks ago, that the Knicks' 16-game stretch all the way up to the middle of March is pretty hard. It's pretty hard. So they're going to have to buckle up and get ready for these next however many games. 5 to 10 games, however many it is. I would have to go through the schedule for the Knicks, but within the next 5 to 10 games, they're very difficult. They're not easy. So with that being said, the Knicks losing last Thursday is just not a good look for them. And the way that they lost, they weren't shooting well. They really looked like they came out of the All-Star break sluggish, and they just didn't have it from the start of the game. If I go back to this game and look at their team stats, they can't be great. Field goal percentage, they were actually 47, not bad. 3-point shooting was just got awful. It was 23%. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But again, as I said at the beginning of the season, both me and Dom said it. If your strategy to win is to just shoot the lights out of the ball behind the arc, you're going to have losing streaks and you're going to have winning streaks. And there are going to be games where you just look dreadful. And unfortunately, this was one of them. Free throw shooting 75%, that's got to be higher. Of course, Mitchell Robinson doesn't help that cause. Rebounds, they got out-rebounded 44 to 38. Assists, they only had 24. Pistons had 30. Steals, they were tied at 9. Blocks, Pistons 8, Knicks 7. Total turnovers, the Pistons actually had more. The Pistons had 15. The Knicks only had 12. But off those turnovers, the Knicks were trying to shoot threes, and they weren't making them. Points conceded off turnovers, Pistons had 12, Knicks had 10. Not a big difference there. Fast break points, Pistons had 18, Knicks had 16. Points in the paint, Pistons 58, Knicks 56. Knicks had 2 more fouls than the Pistons, 20 to 22. Largest lead, Pistons that led by 19 at one point. Knicks actually led in this game. They led by 7. But percent of the lead, Pistons were at 86%. The biggest reason for why the Knicks looked bad and they lost by 15 points was because they shot 23% behind the arc. But that's Mike Brown's MO. And I even talked to a couple of my barbers, and one of them can't stand Mike Brown. Say he's not a good coach. They're not going to win a championship with him. He may be right. He may be wrong. We'll find out as the season moves along. But the 3-point percent shooting is really where the Knicks, that's how they shot themselves in the foot in this game, and that's why they lost. If they had maybe made, a few threes, 3 to 5 threes, and maybe the percentage was more around 35 to 40%, yeah, maybe they would have won this game or at least pushed it to overtime. But you can't make excuses. Not at this point in the season. All-Star break has come and gone. We're now, more than halfway through the season. Right now, the Knicks record is 37-21. So if you do the math, that's 58 games minus 82. You got 24 games left. After tonight, that'll be 23 games. It's not a lot of games left. So again, if you do 58%, if you do 58 divided by 82, 71% of the season is already over. So you can't make excuses anymore. You have to beat these teams. Tonight is another big game. Again, as I said, I'll get into it in a bit here, but that is another big game and a game that they have to win. So the Knicks lose that game. Then what a miraculous win this was on Saturday. I didn't expect this to be a win at all. The Knicks beat the Rockets 108-106, and I wrote it here in the fourth quarter because the first quarter they actually came out guns blazing. They looked pretty good. They won that quarter 27-21. But then the second and third quarters, they really fell off. Second quarter, they lost 33-26. And the third quarter, they lost 37-22, which is something of a big concern for last season because they always had that kind of score in the third quarter, getting beat by 10 to 15 points. That was a constant occurrence last season with Tom Thibodeau. All the time. They'd come out of the locker room and they would start the third quarter and the other team would have like a 10-2 run and they would start falling off in the third and then they'd have to recoup towards the end of the third quarter going into the fourth. It happened way too often last season, and that's what was happening in this game. But in the fourth quarter, the Knicks did play well, but here's the biggest takeaway, and this is why the argument was, did the Knicks, come back and win it, or did the Rockets give it up? Me personally, I think the Rockets gave it up. I don't think the Knicks actually pushed it and won this game. I think the Rockets gave up the game. The Rockets had 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Unless you're playing Tyro or, I don't know, CYO basketball or middle school basketball, you're not winning the fourth quarter with 9 turnovers. You're just not. So I don't think the Knicks won this game. I think the Rockets just blew it, in my opinion. I mean, Ime Udoka said it himself, the Rockets head coach. 9 turnovers, you're just not going to win a game. It doesn't matter if you're up by 20. Doesn't matter you're up by 30. 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. As I said in the intro, they're a good team. They're not a great team. But against a good team like the Knicks, no, you're not going to win with 9 turnovers. And the Knicks acquired 2 good defenders. One plays more than the other. That is Jose Alvarado over Jeremy Sohan. But against a good team like the Knicks, you're not going to come out with a win if in the last quarter of the game, crunch time, you're giving up the ball 9 times. Just not going to happen. So with that being said, the Knicks overcame an 18-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Cat showed his real talent in this game. 34 minutes, 25 points, 10 of 15 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, and he was a plus 23 on the court. This is what Cat needs to do. But not every third night or every third or fourth game. You got to do it every night. I'm not saying you're going to be a perfectionist every game. Everyone has bad games. It's an 82-game season. The only problem is you're having more bad games than good games. Yeah, you made the All-Star team, but I think it was off popularity voting. I don't think you should have made the All-Star team, in my opinion. You're not having a good enough season for the salary that's given to you for this year and what could be given to you next year and the year after that. So, yes, great job showing up for the team, but you need to be doing this virtually every night because you're supposed to be the second option to Jalen Brunson. You're an all-NBA center, and you're making close to $60 million a year. This is what you need to be doing every year. And please, for the love of God, stop complaining about the fouling. You're not going to get the call every time. After a while, the refs, not only are they not going to call it for you, you're going to rack up all the way to 16 techs, and then you get suspended for a game. So enough already. You can't keep doing it every game. Every time you get bumped, even the slightest bump, when you go to drive to the hoop, dude, you're 7 feet tall. You're going to get hit. It's inevitable. I watch Jokic. I've watched a lot of big time centers. They've always gotten hit. Even when Amari Stoudemire was here with the Knicks years ago, and they first got him back in 2010 when they couldn't get LeBron. He got hit all the time. Did he complain here and there? Yeah, but not as much as you. Cat's got to stop with the complaining. I mean, you think he's the only center that's getting bumped every night? Impossible. Again, as I said, if you go talk to Nikola Jokic, I'm sure he's getting hit every night. But you can't complain about every missed call. You're going to hurt your team. The transition defense is going to lack every time you stop and try to complain and argue with the refs. It's just not going to work. So with all that said, he did play well. OG Anunoby definitely bounced back in this one with 4 steals and shot 50% from the field, 8 of 16, making 2 threes, and he was a +6 on the court. This was prime OG Anunoby defense. This is why I think he should be on an all-NBA defensive team this season, without a doubt. I know he's missed some games, but so have a lot of other players. But this is what the Knicks were expecting every season when they traded for OG December 30th, 2023. And they gave up IQ, Emmanuel Quigley, and RJ Barrett. Because OG Anunoby's defense is top-notch. And as, as any Knicks fan would say, I would obviously say it night in and night out, he is an absolute 3-and-D guy, and he's one of the top 3-and-D guys in the league. And his offense this year it's got to be the best of his whole career because he is just playing with a vengeance. He's playing at will. He's driving to the hoop. He's taking contact. He's taking the ball up. He's dribbling the ball up. He was not doing that at the start of his career, even say for the last, 2-3 years before he came to the Knicks when he was with Toronto Raptors. And especially when he won a ring with Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Granted, he's been injured for a hefty portion of his career, but the Knicks and the Knicks training staff have done a great job of keeping him healthy while he's been here, on a $212 million contract. So he's definitely earning that money. He's definitely showing how lethal he can be on offense and another huge weapon he can be for the Knicks on offense, but also showing every Knicks fan his tenacity on defense. And of course, obviously the Knicks coaches and his teammates and the staff. So that was great for him. Brunson played clutch once again in this game against the Rockets, scored 8 of his 20 points in the fourth quarter, 4 of 4 shooting in that quarter. He was clutch player of the year last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it again this year. Jalen Brunson, you'll have some bad games, but you don't have bad back-to-back games. He always figures it out the following game. So again, 8 of his 20 points were in the fourth quarter. He obviously turned up the clutch meter in that quarter and made sure that the Knicks were going to grab that win and it wasn't going to be back-to-back losses, because I am sure he was very annoyed with how he played against the Pistons, knowing how big of a game that was. And for him to come out in the fourth quarter and help his team grab that W, it was a big deal. And then Landry Shamet had a strong game as well. 14 points, 5 of 7 from the field, and 2 for 4 from 3. But the biggest factor of this game, especially the fourth quarter, we can't totally ignore it. It's impossible. It's like sticks out like a sore thumb. Newly acquired Jose Alvarado. I mean, this man is exactly what the Knicks needed for defense. And that is why his name was getting thrown around since beginning to middle of December. Months before the trade deadline was coming around. He had 5 steals the whole game. He obviously had 2 big steals in the fourth quarter. The first one being the steal behind Kevin Durant's back and then driving to the hoop and actually taking contact and making the layup. I thought that should have been an and one, but they didn't call it. They wanted the game to play out, which I somewhat understand. His defense has been as advertised when the Knicks traded for him. And of course, the other steal where the Rockets player, I believe it was maybe Tari Eason, tried to throw it to the corner and Jose Alvarado picked it off like it was a football interception. And they drove to the down to the hoop, and Jalen Brunson Obviously, dribbled in for the layup. He also thought he got hit. I believe that also should have been an and one, but he tied the game at 103. Jose Alvarado was a plus 19 on the court. And, of course, he's been a massive addition to the Knicks bench, and especially with Miles McBride essentially out for the whole entire regular season. Will he be back for the playoffs? I certainly hope so. But with Jose Alvarado taking over for Miles McBride, that is that's obviously been a huge addition to the Knicks bench, and they need more 3-and-D guys. They need more big defensive players. Jeremy Sohan, I'm sure he's going to get more run as the season moves along, so that you keep, the big names like Jalen Brunson, OG, Cat, you keep them healthy and, preserve their minutes for the playoffs and the last week or two of the season. If the Knicks want to go where they want to go, then they obviously need guys like Jose Alvarado off the bench. And they need Jeremy Sohan to obviously show something as well. Jordan Clarkson has essentially fallen off the rotation. I haven't seen him since the beginning of the All-Star break play much, really. But that is still a guy that I have faith that could get you a string of buckets here and there in certain games, in certain opportunities. But Jose Alvarado has been one hell of an addition for the Knicks, and I believe he's going to continue to be a great addition for the Knicks and a key rotation piece, for this Knicks bench. So now moving on to the Knicks and the Bulls game, I gotta tell you, this was sloppy as hell. I mean, if you want to know how to play sloppy basketball, just go watch the Knicks Bulls highlights. I mean, they were sloppy as heck. The Knicks did pull it out though, 105-99. They got in late Sunday night, or I should really say Sunday morning. They got in at 3 a.m. and they could, as Kat said in the postgame, they could have made any excuse to give up this game and not try for the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, but they didn't. People would argue that the Bulls actually gave up in this game towards the end down the stretch. But Cat had another strong game, 28 points in 32 minutes, 10 of 17 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, 11 rebounds, 3 steals. He was a plus 13 on the court. He really just put this team on his back in this game. And these are instances where Cat does have to now be the number one option if Jalen Brunson is not performing well. So with that being said, that leads me to say Jalen Brunson did not have his best game. He shot 7 of 19 from the court, 1 of 6 from 3. He did add 5 rebounds and 9 steals, so that got him to a plus 14 on the court. He was actually a tad better than Cat, but he didn't shoot well. So somebody had to take on the offensive load, and that was Karl Anthony Towns. But that's why you always have to have a second option, and that's why Cat needs to be there for Jalen Brunson game in and game out. And yes, I know it's the Bulls. They're not the best team. They're obviously not great in the East this year, and they haven't really been for the past few seasons. But the Bulls always play the Knicks tough. I mean, the Bulls came back and they were leading in the fourth quarter at one point with 5-6 minutes left to play, or maybe even 7 minutes. But still, they took the lead at one point. The Bulls are a tough team to play. Okay, they always have been, they always will be, and they just always play the Knicks tough. First game of the season, Knicks lost to the Bulls in Chicago. I had this chalked up last week on Take a Seat, Let's Predict. I had this chalked up as a loss. I said they're going on the road. They're going to Chicago. It's a back-to-back. I don't see it. I don't see them winning this game because they haven't been a great road team for most of the year. They're starting to get better, and now their road record is definitely better than what it was, of course, by November, December of the season. But I had this chalked up as a loss. I didn't think they were going to win this game. And especially with what I saw going down the stretch in the fourth, when I was watching the highlights, I was like, man, if I was actually watching this fourth quarter live, I would have wrapped it up and said, I don't know. Got into 3 a.m., back-to-back game, going from MSG to Chicago, road game. I don't see them pulling this out. But kudos to them. Kudos to Cat. Give credit where credit's due. He put the team on his back. Landry Shamet had 5 fouls. He was a -10 on the court, but he did give 16 points off the bench. So that definitely helped. He shot 5 of 9 from the field and 4 of 8 from 3. So he shot 50% behind the arc. But again, as I already said, Cat carried this team in this one, especially in the fourth quarter, on a back-to-back traveling from MSG to Chicago, getting into their hotel at 3 a.m. So, yes, the Chicago Bulls are not a great team. Chicago hasn't exactly been out of the play-in for years. They've either made the play-in tournament or they're just not in. So that's kind of how it's been for God knows 4 or 5 years. I mean, that's really what it's been. But when you play the Bulls and you got Billy Donovan as their head coach, the Bulls always play the Knicks tough. And the Bulls are a tough-headed team. And they're always going to give you their utmost, toughness and performance and talent when you play them. So those are the 3 games. The Knicks actually went 2-1. Now, I did already predict the Cavs game. Unfortunately, I have that chalked up as a loss as well. I had them beating the Pistons and the Rockets. I gave them benefit of the doubt for the Pistons, but Pistons, they lost. The Rockets, they came back from an 18-point deficit to win. Again, you could say the Knicks came back and won, or you could say the Rockets, gave it up. I think the Rockets blew it. And then they obviously beat the Bulls 105-99 in Chicago. Now, the big game tonight against the Cavs is a big one. Is a big one. You got to beat this team. You got to win this game tonight. They're right behind you. They're only 1 game behind you in the East. Knicks are 3rd, Cavs are 4th. And, of course, obviously, do the math. If the Knicks lose and the Cavs win, they're now tied for 3rd in the East. You got to send some sort of message. You didn't do it with the Pistons. Yeah, you did it with the Celtics back on Super Bowl Sunday when it was an afternoon game. That was good. That was a great game. So glad that happened. You got to do it again here. You didn't do it again, as I already said. You didn't do it last Thursday. You got to win tonight. With the Cavs getting James Harden, he has done what actually Dom said he was going to do, which is get his bigs involved in the paint. And his assist numbers have gone up. The Cavs offensive rating has definitely gotten a big boost. And Jared Allen has been more of a threat with James Harden now in Cleveland. And that was a big reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers wanted to trade for James Harden with the Clippers. And so this is going to be a tough game. Let's just set it straight. I know the Cavs haven't played a lot of great teams. They're 5-1 since they've gotten James Harden. And I even have it written here. Cavs are 5-1 since trading for Harden, previously starting 5-0 since getting him. Also, I've seen a significant boost in offensive rating. Granted, they have not played great teams recently. Going from most recent to all the way back to the trade deadline, lost to the Thunder, finally got their first loss since trading for Harden. They beat the Hornets, not a great team. Beat the Nets, a fake organization for crying out loud. Oh, god-awful team. Wizards, god-awful team. They're tanking purposely. They're not playing Trae Young. They're not playing Anthony Davis. And they beat the Nuggets. Okay, good team. So that's a good win. But so did the Knicks. They beat them in overtime. And the Kings are terrible. So, okay, the Cavs are 5-1. They've done well with James Harden coming here and trading for him. But these aren't great teams, excluding the Nuggets. And the one good team that they played against, they lost to, the Thunder. So we'll see what happens tonight. However, with all that being said, it's going to be a tough game. You're going to have to scratch and claw for this win, I believe, because they're certainly not just going to hand it to you. With now James Harden and Donovan Mitchell now playing in the backcourt, and that is a fantastic backcourt tandem. I'm just looking at the Thunder game. Let's see here. Yeah, it was 121-113. Okay, they lost by 8. So it wasn't a double-digit loss. But that was the one good team they played recently, and they lost. So we'll see what happens tonight. But again, as I said, it's going to be a very tough matchup. And right now, keep all your eyes on James Harden. I think he's going to be on the assist rampage, and he's going to try to really get those points in the paint numbers up. He already has for these last 6 games since the trade deadline. And so you're going to really have to watch out for the pick and rolls and really try to get over the screens, which is something that the Knicks don't do great with, this whole entire season with Jalen Brunson and Cat on the court, which is a big reason why they wanted to get Sohan and Alvarado for defensive purposes. So it's going to be a big game. We'll see what transpires tonight. That game is at 7:30. Obviously, I already gave my prediction last week. I think they're going to lose. In my opinion, it's in Cleveland, and I just think the backcourt tandem of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden is going to be too much for the Knicks to defend. But hey, listen, I'll eat my words happily, as I've said multiple times, week to week on this podcast. So that is everything with the Knicks. And I don't really think there's much else to touch on. We've already spoken about the Knicks for a little over half an hour. So that's about it for that. The MLB, it's really just spring training. The Yankees started their spring training games on Friday with Pete Alonso going yard. And of course, Twitter went crazy saying, oh, look, Mets fans are going to miss him. This is what they're not going to have this year. Oh, man, Mets are going to suck it up, dude. Pete Alonso's already hitting dingers in Baltimore. Listen, guys, it's spring training. It's spring fucking training. It's the first game of spring training. I'm not watching that. Dale Strawberry came out and said, I think Pete Alonso is going to wake up one day and realize that he made a mistake not staying with the Mets. I firmly agree with him. I believe it. I think he's 100% correct. So I'm just trying to go back to that game and see who actually threw the meatball to Pete Alonso. Okay, great. So essentially a no-name. Elmer Cruz Rodriguez. Who is it? Couldn't tell you. So there's that. Yeah, he went yard. Congrats. And no, I'm not missing Pete Alonso. The biggest question I have for any Mets fan or, Pete Alonso diehard. Did the Mets win when Pete was here? No. No, he didn't. So that's all I got to say about that. Yankees so far are 2-2 on the spring, and Luis Gil pitched against the Mets and did well, pitching 2 2/3 innings, giving up 2 hits and 1 earned run with 4 strikeouts. David Bednar had a scoreless inning when he pitched against the Tigers recently, so that was good. All the other names for the Yankees, I'm not really sure who they are, but they've had a pretty strong spring. They're 2-2 so far, and they obviously have another game today. I don't know if it's going to be national. I don't know if it's going to be broadcasted on Yes Network or on the Gotham Sports app. Today, the Yankees play the Blue Jays, and it's actually going to be on MLB Network. That's a 107 game. But let's also see who. Okay, so it is MLB Network. So they'll be broadcasting that game. That's actually at Toronto's spring training facility. Who is going to be pitching for them today? That's the big question. I can tell you for the Mets, it's Jack Wenninger, who is a highly touted pitching prospect for the Mets. So I'm definitely intrigued to watch that game. I'm just curious to who it is. Let's see. Oh, it's actually Will Warren. Okay. So that's something Yankee fans could really watch. It's Will Warren pitching for the Yanks today at Toronto Spring Training Facility. So that's everything for the Yankees. For the Mets, they began their spring training games on Saturday. They've gone 2-1 so far in the spring. Brandon Waddell went 2 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts against the Marlins. And Braziban went 1 scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts, but they did lose that game 2-1. Then Justin Hagenman went 2 1/3 innings with 3 strikeouts, 2 hits, and a run against the Yankees. My brother told me the tickets were exorbitant to try to go to this game. Not really sure why. $140 for a fucking ticket? $140? I watched Justin Hagenman pitch against the Yankees last year. He was awful. He shat the bed. So you're going to pay $140 to see an encore performance? Potentially? Played a little better this time around in 2 1/3 innings. But you still gave up a run and a couple of hits. Had 3 strikeouts, but I don't know. It's a solid outing. But I wouldn't pay $140 to go see Justin Hagenman pitch. It's highway robbery. $140. The hell? Could go get a nice steak dinner with that. Clay Holmes went 3 2/3 innings with 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts versus the Blue Jays. I'm just going to be blatantly honest here. Mr. Holmes, you're going to need to lessen the walk numbers and do a little better than this. I mean, I said it when I had a mini segment with Dom, who is the one guy that could easily disappoint you, who could be a disappointment in your eyes. He picked Carlos Rodon. I think maybe I thought about it for maybe a third of a second. My answer was Clay Holmes. I still don't think this guy's a starter. I need to see a lot more. You're going to have to try to get to 6 innings pitched this season, pal. Not 4 to 5 innings to start. You just can't. It's got to be 6 innings. This was a big, big problem last year. And there's something else I'm going to say about the pitching rotation, too. Kodai Senga, I don't care. I don't know. I don't really care who's pitching for the Mets. I don't care if it's Dom's dog, my cat, my brother's dog Theo, my cousin's dog, my 7-year-old cousin, my 13-year-old cousin. Everybody's in front of Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga, I have no faith in this year. Have you seen him in live BP? He looks like dog shit. Oh, he got up to 96, 97 miles per hour. Who cares? Who cares? He was walking guys, and everybody in the box was hitting ropes off this guy. He looks like dog shit. I have no faith. That's another guy, but that's too easy of an answer. Holmes had a 3.5 ERA last year, so I could see people hooting and hollering, and he's also pitching for the USA WBC next month, starting on March 5th. I don't know if he's getting the first game start. I haven't looked into it, but who cares? I don't know how well he's going to be. But Clay Holmes needs to get to 6 innings, not 4 or 5, 6, hopefully 7, maybe once or twice, if we're lucky. But Kodai Senga is at the bottom of the barrel. I have no faith in that guy. He hasn't done well since 2023. He's been injured every year. And he said it. Not going to say he's not a bad guy. He's honest, and he's come out with it in the locker room through his translator. The biggest thing is I need to be healthy for this organization. And that's 100% right. But this is a results business. And if you're not giving the results, you're essentially useless. You can't hit, and you're not going to go to the bullpen, so you better fucking figure out how to pitch. Because right now, I'm not relying on Kodai Senga in a big game or even in a big regular season game. Spring training, sure. Do whatever you want. Convert to submarining. I don't care. I don't have much faith to you. I was watching the Mets pod where, Connor Rogers was saying that Clay Holmes could even be behind David Peterson. Okay. But behind Kodai Senga, not a chance. Everyone that you could imagine. My great-grandmother's in front of Kodai Senga. I have no faith in that man. Anywho, moving on. Tobias Myers is someone that I believe will have a big impact on the club. Mets have already said he's making the opening day roster. Signed, sealed, delivered. It was David Stearns. They said it. They said, yep, he's not starting in the minor leagues. He's going to the major league team. And I happy as shit about it, I got to tell you, because this guy can pitch. He went 2 1/3 innings pitched with 3 hits, no earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. So he pitched great. I think he's going to be a lethal weapon for the Mets as a stretch starter, as a long inning, long relief guy. Put him anywhere, I think he's going to succeed this year. He was a massive, massive addition, and certainly nowhere close to a throw-in the Freddie Peralta trade. I think he's going to be a huge, huge acquisition, addition, relief piece, spot starter piece, however you want to put it. He's going to be huge for the Mets this year. And he looked great in that recent game. And I believe it was either yesterday's game or it was Sunday night's game or Sunday afternoon's game. I have to look. Let me just see here. because between all these games, I've been getting a little confused, frankly. Let's just look at the box score. Yep, it was yesterday afternoon's game. And he got the W. He got the win. 2 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, no earned runs, no walks, 3 Ks. But Clay Holmes, 3 2/3 innings pitched. 1 hit, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks, 1 home run, a 4.91 ERA to kick off spring training. Figure it out, pal. Because 5 innings this year is just not going to cut it. That shit's got to end. You got to get to at least 6, more than likely 7. But it's only your second year being a starter. 6 is fine, but it can't be 4 or 5. You got to get through 6 innings this year. We can't keep having this lack of rotation inning, depth, and being at the bottom of the statistic of how many innings pitched the Mets starters have. Can't have it for another year. Another key name is Ryan Lambert. Also pitched well yesterday, going a scoreless inning with 3 strikeouts. He is a highly touted prospect in the Mets system as a reliever, along with Dylan Ross. Now, Dylan Ross can throw absolute gas. He can throw heat. But he needs to be a little more accurate with his pitches. But these 2 guys can either be called up early in the season or, frankly, even make the opening day roster for relief options for the Mets. Because the Mets don't really have a ton, and A.J. Minter is not going to be ready until May. So that's one less guy you have. And Dediel Nunez, who knows if that guy's even going to pitch for the Mets again. There are other guys who aren't ready. So those 2 guys can make the opening day roster. I haven't seen Dylan Ross pitch yet, but I looked at Lambert's outing on YouTube, and it looked pretty good. And he was throwing absolute heat, 98, 99 miles per hour. And he had some movement with his pitches as well. So that was great. So Ryan Lambert is a big piece that the Mets are looking to utilize for this upcoming season. So that was great. Today's afternoon game at 1:00 versus the Astros is going to feature Jack Wenninger. As I said when I was talking about the Yankees Spring Training games, I'm going to be watching this game. And Mike Taubman is going to be playing right field. This is an intriguing tongue twisting my words here, but this is an intriguing spring training game for an avid Mets fan like myself. But having Mike Taubman in right field, this is going to be an interesting battle. I'm still on the Carson Bench train. I still want him to make the opening day roster and be the everyday right fielder because, as I said last week, the Mets have gone 6 years without having a minor league player start on the opening day roster and be in the opening day lineup. It's been 6 years. That has to end. But Carson Bench, at the end of the day, just like anything in life, you're going to have to earn it. And now they signed Mike Taubman on a 1-year deal. He's going to be trying out for that spot, along with Tyrone Taylor, Brett Beatty, all these guys. It's a very crowded right field. So I want to see how Mike Taubman does, not just in the field, but also at the plate. And he's got the talent. The statistics that I read last week, being over 350 on base percentage the last 3 years, having an over 750 MLB average for OPS. I mean, the guy has played, he's hit, and he's a solid ball player. So he is competing for that spot. So it's going to be an interesting game, and I'm very excited to watch it. But that is everything really with the Mets. Obviously, we'll see who else pitches out of the bullpen today. I hope to see Dylan Ross pitch. That'd be great. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's really everything right now with spring training. Once Dom comes back, as we get closer to the regular season, we'll be giving our predictions. Him for the Yankees, me for the Mets. Going into the season, we'll be talking about, which manager has more pressure, who can have more success with their ball club. So we'll be having certain prediction segments for baseball, for the MLB, for our respective teams as we get closer to the regular season. Francisco Lindor does not have the cast on. He's now just got a Band-Aid on his hand, so he is progressing nicely, which is a big sign for Mets, for the Mets team, but also for Mets fans. They can, I think, breathe a little bit easier. But as we get closer, we'll have more predictions, me and Dom, for Mets and Yankees. Now, really just moving on to the NFL, there's not really much to say here. Obviously, there's certain NFL analysts who have their mock drafts. A lot of mock drafts coming out for the Jets that they want them to take an edge rusher for number two. I understand that, but who in the hell is playing wide receiver opposite of Garrett Wilson? I get they need a quarterback first, which is going to have to be like a 1 year rental, essentially, like in baseball. You're going to need a 1 year rental for a quarterback, but you still need a second wide receiver. If you don't get it at two, please, for the love of God, get it at the 16th pick of the first round. So I know the mock drafts are coming out that it's just going to be an edge rusher and then a different position. Yes, there are other positions to fill. Please don't get Ty Simpson, as I said in the reel and the short last week, and I said it on the episode. Please don't draft Ty Simpson like Mel Kiper's predicting at the 16th pick. There are so many other positions the Jets have to figure out. And this free agent list ain't great. A lot of old heads that are coming into free agency next month when it kicks off on March 11th. So as we get closer to that, that is something else we're going to be looking into as well. You know, today is February 24th. How many weeks is that? Let's see. 1, 2. Literally 2 weeks from tomorrow. Free agency starts. So, and then of course the draft every year is the end of April. So it's going to be interesting. The Giants, of course, as Dom has said, they have a lot of positions to fill. If they make the moves that Dom wants them to make, they'll have a lot more cap space. The Jets have a ton of cap space. They got over, 73 million plus of it that they can use, but the free agent list isn't very, it ain't that hot. It's not great. So they're going to have to do a lot of their work in the draft, which they've had to do for years and years now, but they're just going to have to redo that again. So that's really it for the NFL. There's not really much else to say. Again, just mock drafts, getting ready for free agency, and the NFL draft. So now moving on really to our last segment before I wrap it up. Take a seat, let's predict. Knicks at Cavaliers tonight. I've already predicted that, though. That's going to be a loss, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if they pull out a win against the newly acquired James Harden and company. At the Bucks on Friday versus the Spurs on Sunday. That's a 1 p.m. game, by the way. And then at Raptors on Tuesday. For me, not including the Cavs, because I already did that prediction last week. Bucks, Spurs. So at Milwaukee versus Spurs at Raptors. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to say 3-0. If I was including the Cavs, it'd be 3-1. But I already did that last week. So I'm going to say 3-0. I think the Bucks are just not, they're just not a great team right now. I mean, I haven't really looked at how they've been playing, frankly, which I'm actually going to look into that right now. But I think they can beat the Bucks. Giannis, I don't believe is back yet. Again, I'll look into that again, but I don't believe he's back. And I think he'll still be out. Actually, yes, he did. So they put him on limited action. Yeah, only 4 minutes on Sunday. So it looks like he'll be back for Friday's game. And again, that is in Milwaukee. Let's see what they have written down here. Yeah, actually, they have him right now listed as out in that game with a calf injury, of course. So we'll see if he plays. He played in limited action on Sunday, literally only 4 minutes. That was it. So I say they beat the Bucks at Milwaukee. They play the Spurs at home. That's going to be another tough one. That's maybe I'm hoping Sohan plays. He plays against his former team. So that's I'm hoping that's a win. The Knicks have played well at home this season. I believe they have the fourth best record in the NBA at home. I'm going to say that's a win. And then at Raptors. At Raptors, that's going to be another one. I know the Knicks, they also have to play the Raptors tough. The Raptors are a tough and rugged team, but the Raptors, as Dom predicted months ago, he did predict that the Raptors would fall off. But the Raptors did just beat the Bucks this past Sunday. But I'm still going to go with 3-0. That's what I'm going to go with for the Knicks. And that's really it. So that's basically it. that's for everything on the prediction segment. Now, episode wrap up. Very simple. I honestly think the Knicks just need to play a little bit better. Uh, Beating the Pistons would have been a big win, but of course they didn't come out with that. Unfortunately, they're going to have to beat the Cavs tonight. They need to prove it. They need to show something because that is a big game, and it's going to be a tough one as well. And Raptors are 34-23, so they're still a pretty good team right now. They're fifth, and really they're only 2.5 games behind the Knicks. I was trying to pull it up right now. ESPN was spazzing out on my phone. So, yeah, the Knicks need to beat the Cavs tonight. They didn't get the job done in Detroit against the Pistons, or I should say, actually, that was at home in MSG, which frankly makes that loss even worse. But they have to beat the Cavs tonight, really show that they're a serious threat in the East. It's very important, obviously for the Knicks, but also for the Knicks fans to kind of calm it down and say, okay, they could obviously still beat big teams in the East. The Mets, spring training just started. It's great that baseball's back. I want Carson Bench to really show out in this spring, and I still want him to be the everyday right fielder when the season opens up. I know Mike Topman's going to be competing for that spot along with Tyrone Taylor, Brett Beatty. So, even MJ Melendez, I didn't even mention his name, but that's also something else too. The NFL really just staying quiet, going to kick off free agency in a couple of weeks here. So it's going to be interesting on what the Jets and Giants do in free agency. And hopefully the Giants do what Dom wants them to do and open up cap space by making certain, trades and cuts to try to open up cap space. But we'll see what happens. But the last thing I'll say, and I know we talked about Tony Clark with his abrupt resignation from his executive director role for the MLB PA. So it came out that he had a serious relationship with his sister-in-law. And so makes you wonder what the heck was going on there. But they didn't like the relationship that was going on. That's what came out. And of course, it's going to have a serious hindrance on the new CBA agreement that has to come out next year. And I think it's going to really hurt the potential lockout for the MLB after the season. So I'll keep saying it again. Enjoy the baseball season this year because we do not know when baseball is going to be starting up next year. We have no idea. So I don't know. We're going to have to see what's going to be going on and how they're going to resolve this issue and who's going to be taking over for Tony Clark because it is a big problem and it's something that they have to get sorted out fast. I'm hoping they get it done during the season or maybe even before opening day kicks off. But that's what came out. That was the news. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's really it for the wrap up. Not much else I have to say. We're about to embark on about an hour here, so perfect timing for me. But nothing else really to say. We'll obviously be back next Tuesday. Hopefully Dom will be back with us. Hopefully he gets out of Turks. I know he doesn't want to, but hopefully he gets out of Turks and he'll be back later this week or as soon as possible. So we'll see what happens with him and his flight status. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you to everyone for tuning into today's episode of the FTB podcast on either YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss any of our shows. See you folks on Tuesday. Shout out to the USA Olympic team bringing home gold this past weekend. Big win. Congrats to them defeating Canada. It was one hell of a game. It was real close, but they pulled it out. And shout out, of course, to Jack Hughes getting the game-winning goal. Tough as nails. So see you folks on Tuesday. Peace.